Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very last day of IALA 2021, the first online edition. I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm still very impressed about all the great guests, the inspiring stories, the case studies, and how active you've been on the platform. And because the platform will stay active until the 1st of July, we added a new feature, so you can find each other more easily. By using the filter on the participation section, you can find each other by expertise. Today will be a little bit different. Of course, we start with a session, a theme session, like I promised on Monday, 12 theme sessions in 5 days. And this will be about mass challenges. And after that, I will be wrapping up this great online event here in the studio with the two guests that were with me on opening the show on Monday, Mrs. Bridget Gijsbergs and Mr. Francis Zakaria. So we have a great day ahead of us, full program, nice sessions to make the most out of this final day. Let's go. And like every day, you can post your question during the live stream in the live chat because we have our own host at the chat desk, Mr. Maarten Beddervoets. Maarten, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this session, and I'm pleased that the app will be alive till the end of June, so we can stay in touch with the chat and everything on the platform.
Yeah, that's perfect. So till the 1st of July, they can still post their question. I would like to thank you for being such a wonderful host at the chat desk and for having all the questions ready.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And the final session, session number 12, will be about mass challenges and will be chaired by Mr. René Hoogendoorn. Mr. Hoogendoorn is a long-time member of the IALA, VTS and ENAV committees. He chaired the VTS Technology Working Group for several years and is still a member of that working group. He was involved for more than 15 years in the design and implementation of air traffic surveillance systems. And after that, he moved to the maritime domain, where he was involved in the design of maritime traffic surveillance systems, and he was one of the driving forces behind the EVAF standard for traffic data exchange between VTS systems. Mr. Hoogendoorn holds a master's degree in engineering and is currently employed by the Maritime Traffic Management Division of SAP, our platinum sponsor of this symposium. Mr. Hoogendoorn, there you are.
Okay. It is an honor for me to chair this session on mass challenges. So far, it has been a very interesting week of presentations, stressing, amongst others, the all-important issue of safe and reliable communications, the issue of data integrity and reliability, including those of position, navigation, and timing, and the requirement to make optimum use of the data we have and to present the resulting information in a consistent and coherent way such that people can make informed decisions. All these are extremely important for the current maritime traffic, but even more so when autonomous vessels are involved. So what exactly are autonomous vessels? Let's have a look at the definition in the MAS UK Code of Practice. It distinguishes 5 levels of autonomy, assuming a remote human operator. And these levels are operated, so all cognitive functionality of the vessel is controlled by the operator. Directed, now only the decision-making is the responsibility of the operator. Delegated, so now the vessel is autonomous, but with a possible veto of the operator. Monitored, fully autonomous operation, but with the operator monitoring. And finally, the last level, autonomous, no operator involvement. IMO has a slightly different take on the matter. It distinguishes 4 levels of autonomy. Ships with automated processes and decision support. Remotely controlled ships with seafarers on board. Remotely controlled ships without seafarers on board, and fully autonomous ships. As MAS will have a profound impact on existing regulation, IMO is using these definitions to conduct a regulatory scoping exercise. What's important is to realize that ultimately existing vessels and autonomous vessels of all levels will share the same maritime environment. So besides the technological challenges of MARS, interoperability will be a big challenge. With this introduction, I hope I've set the proper scene for our presentations. And the first presentation will be by Mrs. Pia Meling and is titled VTS and MARS, Responsibilities and Consequences. Mrs. Meling represents Masterly, the world's first company set up to operate zero-emission autonomous vessels. Its aim is to enable a shift in transport from road to sea through cost-effective, safe, and environmentally friendly logistics. Masterly is a joint venture between Kongsberg Maritime and Wilhelmsen, a unique partnership between a leading technology provider and an innovative shipping and logistics group. Customers can, through Masterly, access service for their entire value chain for autonomous ships, from vessel design, project management, and approval from relevant authorities to new building supervision, remote operation centers, logistics services, vessel operations, and insurance. Mrs. Meling has a broad management experience from shipping and the maritime industry. She serves on the executive boards of TACO 2030 ASA and Westport AS, and she is a member of the Ocean Portfolio Board in the Research Council of Norway. Mrs. Meling holds an MBA from the Norwegian School of Economics. Please, Mrs. Meling, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the nice introduction, Renee, and you already started some of my presentation for me. Well, thank you all for this opportunity to discuss what impact that maritime autonomous surface ships will have on vessel traffic services. You see my slides now? Yeah, good. So as the introduction said, my name is Pia Meling and I represent Masterly, and we are the world's first company set up to operate autonomous vessels, various degrees of autonomy, all the way to unmanned, but with human supervision at shore. So our owners, Kongsberg and Wilhelmsen, they complement each other really well. Kongsberg is a complete equipment supplier and integrator for around 30,000 ships in the global fleet. And Wilhelmsen has deep experience in vessel operation and maritime logistics, and also operates a large maritime network across the globe. And both these companies, they spend a lot of time and resources into innovation and new technology. Sorry. And as our host introduced the purpose of Masterly as well, which is actually contributing to a shift in transportation from road to sea. By introducing autonomy technology, we can bring down the cost of maritime transportation and compete with trucks on shorter distance and lower volumes, creating a bigger market for the maritime transportation in a safe and of course, a low emission way as well. And there is a lot of, political will to make this happen, to shift this transportation from road to sea, but we are actually enabling this in reality. And this is one of our customers, ASKO. It is a leading grocery distributor here in Norway. And they are actually replacing 2 million kilometers of truck transport per year with 2 small vessels that will cross the fjord here, carrying the trailers across instead of driving around in a congested road network. So this is cutting 5,000 tons of CO2 per year. And these trailers will also be electric and form part of a zero-emission logistics chain for ASKO. Kongsberg Maritime is providing the technology, and Masterly will operate these vessels. Well, and getting into the technology required for autonomous vessels, we could group this into 3 pillars. So the first one is the vessel's capabilities, and we're not only talking about the navigational autonomy, but the whole machinery on board the vessel. And of course, bidirectional secure connectivity is paramount for this to work well. And we also need a remote operations center. And the purpose of such a remote operations center is to enable autonomous operations of vessels in a safe, efficient, and also secure manner. There will be a gradual and stepwise development here for this remote operations center, first by assisting onboard crew, easing the workload and adding a safety layer and assisting remotely, to taking direct control or monitoring unmanned autonomous operations. And we also offer a fleet operation, including mission management, planning, scheduling, resource management, anything related to traditional ship management as well. Now over to the VTS and their role related to this. Of course, the VTS is responsible for safety and security in the maritime traffic. And they manage traffic in their dedicated area, and they enforce regulation, detect any illegal activity, and ensure, of course, environmental protection. And they connect the ship to emergency services when required. The VTS also requires pilotage, berthing, tugs, and all sorts of vessel info that is required. And do the resource planning and optimization for the ports and the coast areas. So, although the VTS already today uses both radar, AIS, ECDIS, and CCTV, in addition to VHF radio, they must adapt to the rapid development of new technology on board vessels. There's, all this automation on board will lead to more system-to-system interaction. And the VTS may be obliged to provide new services using digital formats. Large amounts of navigational data will be exchanged continuously, and this gives needs for better bandwidth, as well as higher risk of cyber attacks. So, what are the key challenges for VTS with unmanned vessels? Let's stick to unmanned autonomous right now for the discussion. Well, one remote operator will be responsible for several ships. And what does that imply? Maybe a human out-of-the-loop syndrome could actually cause some delays in decision-making and communication with the VTS. That's a question mark. And specifically, what practical ability will the operator have in the remote operations center to listen to all the required VHF channels, assuming that you have operating several vessels in different geographical locations at the same time? So I think working with the remote operations center operators will be quite different than working with mariners on board vessels. So this is something the VTS needs to learn how to handle. And naturally, if there is a software failure on an unmanned autonomous ship, this might have a larger impact than for conventional vessels. But on the other hand, these vessels are designed with the higher security and redundancy than any other vessel, and the cybersecurity is considered in every design of any item on board. So it's both a risk and a more safe solution as well. And what happens in an emergency? There's no people on board the vessel then to assess the situation and communicate with the VTS. So information will be available to the operator in the remote operations center, who has, of course, video and sensors, but still limited visual information, perhaps, compared to being on board. But on the other hand, you could use all those sensors and cameras to assist also in a situation with other vessels. And will unmanned vessels use lights, shapes, and sounds to communicate their intention and status to other vessels? This is required as per POLREGS, and it's described in the International Code of Signals. But unmanned vessels will lead to more system-to-system interactions. So there could be innovations here as well on how to actually communicate with other vessels. And then a discussion that's been taken up by many people is the question of whether the VTS could act as a backup function of the remote operations center if that should fail for some reason, if it loses connectivity to the vessel or it breaks out the fire in the remote operations center. And of course, this would require the VTS operator to take control of the vessel to prevent any accidents. And not only are there considerable legal and insurance issues related to such a role for the VTS, but there's also, of course, technical issues for their direct control to the vessel to steer it. So I think this is not a very likely scenario, but I know it's being discussed quite a lot. But with change, there's always opportunity. So, you know, the VTS is the link between ship and shore, and that role will become even more important with MAS operating in mixed traffic with conventional vessels. So, proactive vessel management through forecasting will become more efficient in tomorrow's MAS scenario. And radar images combined from the MAS and shore could give better situational awareness for the VTS operators. Remote pilotage is now allowed in the Finnish and Norwegian waters, probably there are several other waters as well. And the VTS could be the physical best place for these pilots to actually be located when they're doing the remote pilotage, do their duties. And as I mentioned also in an emergency situation, the MAS can actually be an asset for the VTS to get control of what's happening in the situation and also communicate. And, you know, digital communication will really improve the efficiency and the safe management of traffic. There's, for example, reduced risk for miscommunication and language barriers. That is the case today. And the VTS could be a trusted party who offers like unified and safe information sharing. And the arrival of MAS also gives a great push for standardization. So there's a clear need for EALO to develop harmonized navigational information like data exchange, and this will accelerate that work, I believe. Sea traffic management, you could see that as the maritime equivalent of air traffic management, where vessels exchange information and industry stakeholders are using standardized data formats and interfaces. So all these arrival, departure times, and route plans of each vessel will in the future be shared at an early stage digitally via the ECDIS. This allows for just-in-time arrival and approaching port, and it reduces fuel costs and CO2 emissions. So I also believe that the arrival of unmanned vessels will speed up this development. And as you can see on this busy illustration that I found, it's called the Motorways of the Seas Digital Multi-Channel Platform. And there's so many stakeholders that depend on information from both the vessel and from each other. And all this information will become big data. And if you think about all the video feeds needed from the sensors on board connected and autonomous vessels, this really requires high performance data processing. So we are part of a 3-year EU-funded research and innovation project with 13 consortium members from 6 countries, which is called Vessel AI. And Massterly, Kongsberg Norcontrol, and SINTEF are Norwegian members, and we are responsible for a pilot on autonomous ships in short sea transport. And through this Vessel AI work, we really expect to learn more about both how the remote operations center and the VTS function can be further improved and how we can bring better decision support models to the operators by AI and big data. So really efficient collaboration between the vessel, the remote operations center, and the VTS and the port is definitely the right place to start on this important journey towards an efficient and digital ecosystem for ship traffic. Thanks for listening, and see you in the Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And stay there for some questions later on. Yeah, back to you, Mr. Hoogendoorn. It was an interesting presentation.
Yes, it was a very good overview. And I would like to go to our second speaker today, Mr. James Crawford. And he has a pre-recorded speech for MAS for Extra Navigation Needs, the Chilean approach. James Crawford is a former Navy captain with a specialization in Coast Guard and extra navigation matters. For 11 years, he held the position of head of the Chilean AIDS Navigation Service National. Currently, he serves as Ayala advisor for the National Maritime Administration of Chile. During his career, he has led the most important projects regarding renovation and upgrade of the capacity of the Chilean AIDS navigation networks, has participated actively in many Ayala workshops and symposiums, and assisted as a technical advisor for Ayala Worldwide Academy mission. So please enjoy the presentation of Mr. Crawford.
If you ever have the chance to visit Chile, maybe you may hear that when God created the earth, He saved a little bit of sea, a little bit of fjords, some mountains and deserts, and decided to put them all in one country, Chile. Our country has a wide variety of landscapes range from the world's driest desert to beautiful beaches bathed by the cold waters of the Pacific Ocean. Furthermore, we have fertile valleys that produce our world-renowned wines that you can enjoy miles of kilometers away from here, and a surprising maritime geography that give us the opportunity to sail among small islets just centimeters away from majestic millenary ice walls in the southernmost part of our country. These characteristics determine Chile's status as a tricontinental maritime country. By maintaining our presence in the Americas, Oceania, and Antarctica, we ensure the safety of navigation in waters under Chilean jurisdiction and the protection of the marine environment. This highlights the importance of our AIDS2 navigation network, consisting of more than 1,200 devices installed along more than 4,200 kilometers of coastline. These devices include BTS stations, and maritime autonomous surface ships emerge as a reliable option to increase safety standards in our maritime routes, from the northern border in Arica to the freezing waters of the Chilean Antarctic territory. In this context, we have focused on developing concepts to guide the future implementation of maritime autonomous surface ships to increase safety of our maritime routes and, in turn, enhance availability of the AIDS2 navigation network. In that way, this presentation will cover three main areas: a brief description of the Chilean AIDS2 navigation network, our approach to the use of maritime autonomous surface ships in order to meet the requirements of the Chilean AIDS2 navigation service, and finally, some conclusions. As I pointed out previously, the Chilean Maritime AIDS2 navigation network has more than 1,200 devices, which include 133 buoys, 965 lighthouses, and 188 electronic devices. They are all distributed along more than 4,200 kilometers of coastline and managed by 5 regional centers. The AIDS2 navigation specialists embark on the different surface and air units of the Chilean Navy to perform maintenance work on the network. Given that the main goal of the AIDS2 navigation network is to provide safety to mariners, our ongoing concern is its availability and reliability. And this is the exclusive responsibility of the AIDS2 navigation service of the Chilean Navy. The AIDS2 navigation service works together with 5 maritime AIDS2 navigation regional centers located throughout the country, which deploy technical specialists called fareros, Navy personnel with a specialization in AIDS2 navigation, in order to perform renovation and maintenance work. It should be noted that these specialists have to endure long periods of isolations ranging from 6 months to 2 years in those areas where signals are crucial for the safety of maritime traffic. When it comes to ensuring efficiency, our extensive AIDS2 navigation network is a challenging feature. Devices located in the northern part of the country are exposed to more favorable weather conditions than those installed in the south or in the Chilean Antarctic territory. Therefore, it is necessary to develop and apply technology that allow us to monitor the operation of the network's signals. Over the past few years, the Chilean Aids to Navigation Service has purchased the appropriate devices to facilitate remote monitoring of the signal's operation in order to take preventive measures, instead carry out corrective actions. Monitoring technology depends mainly on the distance between the signals and the regional maintenance centers, where we gather the information, which is then processed by the National Monitoring Center. We use, therefore, different means of data transmission, such as satellite, GSM, and/or VHF. Although costs related to satellite services have decreased over the last few years, for administrations like ours, which operate a large number of devices, they can still be high. This is why in the last year, we have been actively exploring the potential use of maritime autonomous surface ships to meet specific requirements such as checking proper operation and performance of network signals, the use as hydrometeorological stations, and its use as camera carriers for maritime traffic control stations. Some people may say that we are trying to invent the wheel, and we should buy any of those maritime autonomous surface ships already available in the market in order to meet requirements mentioned. However, Directimar has considered developing this type of devices with its own engineers, because in this way, since they who do not have the technical knowledge that maritime autonomous surface ships developers have, can now understand the basics under which they were designed and get the goal. During this process, they have been exploring unfamiliar technical areas and have starting to learn concepts such as hydrodynamics, stability, and design, among others, that were not part of their previous technical knowledge. We are planning use and fit maritime and autonomous surface ships with visual sensors, cameras, and other devices to monitor our signals' effectiveness and their correct operation. In this way, we should be able, for example, to check remotely the operation and range of a lighthouse. In Chile, reports about signals that are turned off or with a reduced range are very common. However, once our aids to navigation specialists have reached the area, they have confirmed that it was a false alarm. Having maritime autonomous surface ships to carry out this type of monitoring could save sending a large manned vessel, which is not cost-effective, and in this way, we could save money and improve networks efficiency. We also plan to fit such vessels with sensors to capture via VHF operation parameters of devices that are not equipped with remote monitoring systems. Furthermore, the Chilean Aids to Navigation Service is studying the possibility of using this type of vessel as a portable hydrometeorological stations in order to provide this type of information in those areas where it is required. For example, the Kirk Strait in southern Chile is one of the most difficult passages to navigate due to its narrowness and the current that can reach up to 8 knots. In addition, the weather conditions that can prevail in the area are rough, especially in winter due to heavy snowfalls. So, a few years ago, a hydrometeorological station was installed, which has fully met the technical requirements and increased safety of navigation in the area. However, fitting the hydrological profiler was not an easy task, as it required the design and installation of a very robust metallic structure that could endure local strong currents. Maintenance of the sensor has not been easy either, as it has to be lifted from its operative position out of the water for repairs. Based on this condition, we believe that some of these difficulties could be avoided by using maritime autonomous surface ships. The hydrological data maybe would not be as reliable as that recorded by the fixed profiler, but where there is not information, the collection of some data may be more beneficial than no data. Being able to reach rough locations by moving maritime autonomous surface ships, hydrometeorological stations as required, or to get to areas for a better coverage for the transmission of the collected data would have advantages over a fixed station. Finally, we are currently considering the use of maritime autonomous surface ships as portable cameras for maritime traffic control stations or VTS, providing a more practical solution. Sometimes, cameras installed in a traffic control stations or VTS do not allow the visualization of certain situations of interest. So, it would be easier to send a maritime autonomous surface ship equipped with visual sensors to deliver videos or photographs to be seen in real time for decision-making process at land. However, this idea could represent a technology challenge easier than previously mentioned, have not been considered a priority issue for our Aids to Navigation service. Since we are running out of time, I would like to point out that though it is true that talking about maritime autonomous surface ships may sound crazy, or an alternative that could be massively materialized in thousands of years, I suggest you to review the autonomy-related developments of the aeronautical and automotive industries. These companies have already introduced in the market vehicles capable of parking or driving from one point to another with complete safety and without human intervention. Why should the maritime and aids to navigation field be left out of this concept? I believe we are at the right time to open our minds to adopt those technologies that can promote the safe and efficient operation of vessels. That can be achieved by improving and harmonizing marine aids to navigation in the best interest of the marine community, the protection of the marine environment, and the protection of port facilities. Let's be like children and let our imaginations fly, because maritime autonomous surface ships are already approaching to ports.
Mr. Hogedoorn, it's up to you.
For the very beautiful and scenic presentation and a good example of how MAS can benefit A2N maintenance and operations. The third speaker of this session is Mr. Koichi Nishimura with a decision support tool based on the collision avoidance algorithm for autonomous ships. Mr. Koichi Nishimura graduated in 1981 from Tokyo University of Mercantile Marine in the Faculty of Navigation. After graduating university, he joined Tokyo Keiki, which is one of the leading manufacturers of navigational equipment in Japan. He was involved in a wide range of product developments, not only navigational equipment, but also VTS system integration. In 2018, he joined TST Corporation, which provides information services for the purpose of safety of navigation and contributes a lot to the efficiency of port operation in major ports in Japan. He holds a CTO position in the TST Corporation. So, Mr. Nishimura, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Renee. And let me see. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Koichi Nishimura of TST Corporation. I am speaking to you from Japan right now. This is the time when my family has finished dinner. My dog also ate her food. except for me. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it's a great honor for me to be given the opportunity to present at this symposium. As stated in the program, I will focus on key challenges currently facing our port BTS operation and the way to successfully resolve the difficulties faced by BTS operators, applying the collision avoidance maneuver algorithm or MAS. So let's get down to business. Take a look at the next slide, please. For those of you who are not quite familiar with my topic, I'd like to present a brief background of our company. We have a wide range of activities in the Japanese shipping and the port sector. One of these is the information services solutions. For instance, port wave, port view, vessel schedule data feed, vessel schedule service, global vessel schedule tracker, AIS data feed, AIS replay, navigation history data, and so on. We also operate port management related services. For instance, ship operation support work, port facility management work, pre-arrival application work, berth designation work, tugboat assignment work, information provision work for marine construction. And an important part of our business, which I will talk about here, is port BTS. This is a map of Japan. I'm sure that some of you have visited Japan. I'm in Yokohama here, and in the middle of the map, facing Tokyo Bay. The circles indicate the location of the main Japanese ports, where port BTS is implemented. As you can see from this map, these ports are concentrated in the so-called Pacific Belt Zone. Pacific Belt Zone is the megalopolis in Japan, extending from Ibaraki Prefecture in the north east to Fukuoka Prefecture in the southwest, running for almost 1,200 kilometers. Its population is around about 74.7 million. The urbanization zone runs mainly along the Pacific coast of Japan and the inland sea on both sides to Fukuoka, and it's concentrated along the Shinkansen, bullet train, very high-speed rail corridor. A view of Japan at night clearly shows a rather dense and continuous strip of light, demarcating urban zones that dominate the region. Incidentally, there are 7 coastal BTS areas in Japan. These BTS facilities are operated by the Japan Coast Guard, as designated by the Marine Traffic Safety Act. In this presentation, I will talk about the port BTS we operate, not the coastal BTS operated by Japan Coast Guard. So let me take you to our port BTS. Let's go on to the next slide, please. This what shows Port of Tokyo in the morning light. An operator on duty at the end of the night shift monitors the movements of vessels entering Tokyo Bay. Early morning is rush hour for incoming ships. Let's have a look at the next slide, please. As dusk falls after a busy day, the rush hour for departing vessels begins. BTS operators are busy not only with VHF communications with vessels and tugboats, but also with phone calls to ships agents and other stakeholders. Let's go on to the next slide, please. First, let me explain the role of port BTS. As port administrators, local authorities, including cities, prefectures, and capital must ensure the safe and efficient operation of their ports. Under the Port and Harbor Act, Port BTS is specially required to carry out the following tasks. BTS operator conduct that navigational assistance for large vessels with restricted maneuver, provide a pilot board with information on other vessels, and request coordination from smaller vessels. Navigational assistance for ocean-going vessels not subject to compulsory pilotage. Warning against straying due to lack of familiarity with national regulations and ignoring signals in the port. Responding to urgent time orders. Navigational assistance for coastal vessels. Provision of information in port and the coordination of navigation with ocean-going vessels. They regulate vessel traffic flow at junctions and marges. Advice on the order of arrival and departure, and warnings to vessels operating inappropriately. Let's go to next slide, please. Take a look at the figure, which shows increasing navigation assistance communications in Tokyo Bay. Port BTS operates extremely busy, not only with VHF communications with ships and tugboats, but also with the phone calls to ships agent and others. This is a slightly older statistics from year 2014 to 2018. But this is the case only for BTS, VHF communications. The line graph shows the total number of contacts per year with ships by VHF radio. In 2018, as you can see, more than 300,000 contacts were made with ships by a VHF communication during the year. Approximately 858 contacts per day, or 36 contacts per hour. This means that in Tokyo Bay, there is a contact between a BTS operator and a ship every 1 to 2 minutes. Now look at the green bar graph. This shows the total number of VHF communications for navigational assistance. This is a very busy state of affairs in Tokyo Bay. The challenge for these busy port BTS operators is that no matter how busy they are, situational awareness must not be neglected. Next slide. The matters for which BTS is required are clear. Everyone here should be able to recite it, of course, according to IMO Resolution A857-20. Vessel traffic services are implemented to improve the safety and efficiency of the vessel traffic and to protect the marine environment. The service should have the capability to interact with the traffic and to respond to traffic situation developing in the BTS area. As you can see, for port BTS operators with extremely high workloads, the DST, decision support tool, is expected to play a role. Decision is routine or non-routine situations. It's especially useful for BTS personnel facing decisions about developing situations or emergency situations. Decision support tools are used in BTS centers to enhance situation awareness by assisting BTS personnel. These tools can assist BTS personnel decision-making activities at operation, tactical, and strategic levels. Let's move on. Next slide, please. I come to the point. Research on an autonomous ship has been actively conducted in recent years. This object is obtained by a direct application of the automatic collision avoidance algorithm for the purpose of autonomous, unmanned, or remotely controlled ships. I focus on the automatic collision avoidance algorithm of MASS and set about applying them to DST. The DST constantly calculates optimal maneuvering way from the risk and the economic reference in the ship maneuvering space, where the course change and the declaration and performed. The DST notifies the traffic situations, including the risk of collision to BTS operator, the operational, tactical, and strategic levels in order to take proper action. Practical effectiveness of the DST was tested using the full mission simulator and implemented at real BTS site. Let's move on. The feature of the algorithm we have applied to DST as follows. Autonomous ships that make automatic collision avoidance maneuver should not cause anxiety to other ships maneuvered by humans. The system must provide risk mitigation prior to the application of the current correlating navigation rules. The method we have adopted is so-called point deduction method based on an evaluation area diagram developed on the basis of relative distance and relative change in bearing. Let's move on. Here, I explain how it works. Suppose you are the captain of the ship. You must carefully observe the movements of the ship around you and make sure that your ship is safe to sail. What would an experienced captain look out for at the moment? Typically, it will be the distance to the other ship and the rate of change in the relative bearing of the other ships. Experienced captains will unconsciously evaluate these two parameters in order to steer the ship well. Let me explain how to read a graph. Collision avoidance maneuvering situations can be classified into three different patterns. One is head-on, crossing from starboard. Two is same way. The last three, crossing from port. The vertical axis is the rate of change of bearing of the other ship, and the horizontal axis is the relative distance to the other ship. The idea is simple, very simple. If the other ship is far away, you are safe. If it is close to you, in danger. If the rate of change of the relative bearing is 0, you are on a collision course. If it's large, if you are safe. This graph is in the mind of an experienced captain. Let's move on to the next slide, please. These graphs show the evaluation area diagram developed on the basis of relative distance and the relative change in bearing. This is an example of collision avoidance maneuvering situations on a real ship. The captain is doing a good job of maneuvering her to avoid other ships. This can be seen from the fact that the measurement points on these graph do not fall into the danger zone. You can see how ships follow the outer edge of the caution area. For the development mass, it's important not to forget. Go ahead, please. Next slide. Next slide. This means that there are a number of manned vessels sailing in the vicinity of mass. This means that captains of manned ships sailing in the vicinity of Mars will not accept automatic maneuvers that make them feel unsafe. The Mars should be designed to perform automatic maneuvers in a way that is comfortable and not unnatural for the experienced captains in the vicinity. We use the ship handling simulator to evaluate the proposed so-called a point deduction method based on an evaluation area diagram. The picture above showed that the simulation of seeing from our own ship when the bow crossing distance was 0.4 miles. As a result of the collision avoidance maneuver. As you can see, a blue painted vessel is crossing the ship's course from starboard. The picture shown below that showed that the situation of seeing own ship from other target ships at the same time. The situation still showed own ship starboard side, the other target ship at a distance of 0.4 miles. Whether this maneuver was appropriate or not is clear from the graph of the right. This is the evaluation area diagram. The vertical axis is the rate of change of bearing of the other ship, and the horizontal axis is really relative distance to the other ship. The captain is doing a good job maneuvering her to avoid the other ship. This can be seen from the fact that the measurement points on this graph do not fall into the danger zone. You can see how ships follow near the boundary of the caution area. So my presentation is close to the conclusion. Let's move on to last slide, please. This video records a DST testbed calculate out in Osaka Bay in 2019. Please click it to start the video. Okay, good. On the right of the screen, you can see the evaluation area diagram. The DST also calculates all relative relations for ships navigating the Osaka Bay. These positions are based on AIS information. The DST and the application of MAS, collision avoidance maneuver algorithm, checks the relative relation of all ships in the area monitored by the BTS operator, identifies those about to enter the danger zone and alerts the operator. With the proposed point deduction method based on an evaluate area diagram, the ships with the worst scores, that is, the most dangerous relative relations, are connected by lines. Relative relationships are connected by lines and displayed on the screen. This is a better method than the traditional CPA and TCPA threshold alarms. Conventional method like CPA, TCPA threshold alarm causes frequent alarms in congested areas such as Osaka Bay and Tokyo Bay. Then Aesop's fables are well known to children around the world. You know, as the boy who cried wolf analogy goes, the operator will turn off the alarm. We will use the finding from the testbed to further refine the DST. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Nishimura, can you see the reaction in the chat? Because Mrs.
Okay.
And Mrs. Gillian Garson Jackson hopes that you will get your dinner soon. But we hope that you can stay a little bit longer for us because we would like to chat with you a little bit later. So please postpone your dinner a little bit longer. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Hogendoorn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nishimura, for the excellent presentation on how autonomous vessels can properly navigate in an environment that is also used by conventional vessels. Our last, but certainly not least speaker, is Mr. Harmer de Borscher with a speech titled Massive Challenges, Step by Step. Harmer van Dorsen is a true innovator and entrepreneur with the Port of Rotterdam organization. He advises the Harbour Master on nautical innovations and is involved as a mentor, coach, and trainer in various innovation projects. Mr. van Dorsen is program manager of the VTS Innovation Lab and co-author on the paper Impact of Mass on VTS, which was approved by the 71st IALA Council. Within the VTS Innovation Lab, we would like to explore concepts of full digital situational awareness, interacting objects, and advanced decision support for future VTS services. Mr. van Dorsen, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, and it's the floor in the studio, so we're happy that you're here with us.
Yes, thank you very much. René, thank you. Yeah, it's an honor. My hometown, my home city, and also my Port of Rotterdam. So I'm proud to be here. It's a little bit awkward. Normally, I would have been on a stage somewhere with a full room, and you would be also here in our beautiful city, Rotterdam. But, well, we have to do it this way, and hopefully, you got a nice message this week. Massive challenges, step by step. Well, when we wrote the paper 1.5 years ago, we had a different story than we have now. So I thought, well, pick this moment as last speaker from this symposium and also on Mars, and use all your beautiful input to create the story I would like to tell you. First, the keynote. Dr. Matthias Jones hit it on the nail. It's connectivity, it's connection between systems and systems. It's about businesses. And of course, within the hydrogen there are lots of solutions already for offshore constructions and survey of that. And it's about the harmonization for technical solutions and the harmonization of our connectivity. And then we had this week lots of ideas for the future of VTS. It was about data hubs. It's about coordination. It's even about command centers. And, well, Neil, you said I don't have the glass ball. Of course, we don't have a glass ball. But when we look at the future, we can make a couple of insights for ourselves. And in my opinion, VTS will be about guaranteeing the information position of the participants within our VTS area, about the validation and authentication of the data and of the participants, and about the monitoring and the agreement between the participants. So are they doing what they're doing? And how do we do that? Well, first, we would like to use a kind of scenario slider. We did a pre-study on Mars together with Marin, the Dutch Institute. And, well, later on, I will get to that first. But the scenario slider gives us insight. And we had some beautiful scenarios already this week. So the scenario from the Norwegians about, well, we have 5 ships sailing around, and they're not mass ships. No, they're normal ships, but they are already using smart shipping solutions. So that's where it's all about. We have to look at the future with the same glasses. And next to that, we have the vision about, well, how do we create digital situation awareness together when we have digital solutions? How do we create that connectivity and those interacting objects? And what at the end, and we have seen some solutions also, about human behavior and how we use those advanced decision supports. And let me take you with those 3 elements through all the beautiful presentations this week. Because, well, we just had the presentation from out of Tokyo. Well, how do you get situation awareness when you have a sun on the sunset on the horizon and you're looking at it? Then we use tools. We have seen lots of tools, collision avoidance tools, tools for grounding, tools for anchorage. We even had some solutions with cameras. We had some, well, issues about crowded IES and how to get visibility. And of course, well, lots of solutions. And then the connectivity issue. Well, I love the pizza metaphor, really brilliant. a very good way to tell you about, well, you need a service and how to get that service to you. And we need standards for that. We need connectivity. We need systems. We need technology. We need all those things. And at the end, then also, we need accuracy. We need trust. And my colleague Martijn already mentioned we are vulnerable with lots of things. When we have all that information, well, how can we use that? And that's one of the things we have to mention. And then, for me as looking at the forward for VTS, how can our colleagues within those VTS centers use all that data and how to make that human-machine interface? Well, last speaker with his video about how to get insights, will that be the solution? Add an extra screen within the VTS center with collision centers? Do we use dashboards? Or do we leave everything on board of the ship and let the decision making there? How to use that within our educational? I don't know. But that's the thing we have to find out together. And that's the beautiful thing of our job, that we can work together. And the challenge we have is massive. And of course, well, Mr. Altman mentioned already that we have lots of trees planted, but we lost the view of the forest. And Mr. Betty about, well, all the data we use and all the data we have, but how to create that vulnerable decision insights. And yes, lots of us let our imagination fly. But how can we fly within a harmonized direction? Well, that was one of the big challenges we all had. And that's why we together with MPA Singapore and the Dutch ministry, we went to IALA and we said, well, we have lots of jobs to do. And we have many things to solve. And it's needed to solve by many, but we need one thing, and that's coordination. And that's why we asked them to create a MAS task group. And that's why we ask you to participate within that. And of course, we are already supported by the MASPort network, and that's great. But we need to do this job together. MAS is a massive task and a massive challenge. And that's why we, within that task group, would like to start up the first step, using the scenarios you already have used for the development of your products, but using common scenarios and a common view of the future that we will look at the same direction and we will fly the same direction. And then, quite directly, we are able to create an insight on the functionality and the services we need. Because the discussion about the services is totally right. And the change from Instas and NOS towards the new A857, that's really also a massive challenge. Those MAS scenarios could give us insights and could give us direction in creating those new functionalities. So that's what I would like to tell you, and I want to ask you to join the future of VTS. And, well, thank you, because the future of VTS, well, it's in our hands.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. van Drosten. Well, first of all, it was a great overview of the whole week. Well, so we don't even need to wrap it up anymore because you already did that. So thank you for that. And how can people make sure that how can they let you know that they want to join?
Well, first of all, they have to let Maarten Bervoets know. He's the chair, together with the co-chair of MPA Singapore. We have a co-chairing of the MASPort network.
Okay.
So that's to Maarten, for example, really to start it up.
But I can also put it in the chat, maybe.
Yeah, of course. When they're interested about the work to do, of course, they could show their interest, of course.
Good. And I really like the view behind me, but you are living here, and so you see this view every day, right?
Yeah. When I look at my window, every day I see the inland vessels, but also some small seagoing vessels.
Beautiful. And did you come here by bike or by boat?
I walked.
You walked.
It's now 15 minutes walk, so it's beautiful.
Perfect.
And it's a sunshine, so it's a nice day.
Spring has started here.
Spring has started.
Mr. Hoogendoorn, do you have something to add before I would like to invite the other guest for some questions?
Well, I would like to thank Mr. van Drosten for the very energetic presentation. If we want to further MAS, then we definitely need people who want to put their shoulders behind it. And I would say this was a very interesting week of presentations, challenging and sometimes even provocative, because they challenge existing beliefs. So I think there will be a lot of questions for this session. So please, Pauline.
Yes. And nice that you tell us what you thought of this week, because I think that's really what we need, to start a discussion. Also, when it's provocative, we need to come to solutions. So thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I have a question for Mrs. Meiling regarding remote operating center. What are your thoughts about the training skill sets for those working in the remote operating center? And what are your thoughts on possible cross-training, cross-sectorial training, VTS and remote operating center?
Thanks. That's a good question, and it's very important to look at the training required. We have an ongoing project together with the University of Southeastern Norway here, looking at specifically what kind of curriculum would they put together for a training for a remote operation center operator, saying that in the start, those people need to have a navigational license and having onboard experience. That's at least how we see it in the medium term, that you have to be an experienced mariner, and then you add on an extra training on how it is to handle such a situation in a remote operation. And you would do a lot of simulation training, and of course learn more about data security and cyber security and so on as well. So they already actually put together a curriculum that we will be testing with people once we get started on these first vessels next year. The ASCO vessels are delivered early next year, and then they will be a couple of years in operation with a reduced crew on board. We assume 2 people on board. And then we will gradually learn what's required to change in that curriculum and what's required to change also technically in the remote operations center, so that the people can actually take over the responsibility. So this will be done very gradually. Yeah. But I definitely believe there's a crossover between the VTS, their day-to-day work, and how these remote operators will work. So we should expand on that and learn from each other for sure.
Nice. And you agree on that, Mr. van Dorst? I see you nodding.
Yeah, I totally. No, it's always great to see Pia again. But yeah, the truth is that when you look from out of the shipping perspective, the VTS could add a lot of things. But when you look from the VTS perspective, ships could add a lot of things. So I think that's the great thing also this week with e-navigation and VTS together within one symposium, is that we could really create those for the cross boundaries. Yeah, I'm looking forward. And when COVID is gone, I will go to Norway to look at your work, Pia.
Good. We have one more question for you, Mr. Meiling, about legal responsibilities. The VTS authority is the legal authority in its area. What about ship owners, data telecom providers?
What about them?
What about them? Yeah, that's the question. I think maybe
I'm not sure if I understood the question.
I think maybe it's where's the responsibility? Who is responsible for what?
Yeah, so there's lots of lawyers all over this autonomous ship discussion, of course, and sometimes it's complicated to a level where it's actually not that complicated, because the legal responsibility will rest with the navigator who will still be in charge, but he or she will be located remotely and not on board the ship. So there's a personal liability there. In addition, the ship management company, in our case, it will be then Massterly with Wilhelmsen Ship Management. We are responsible, as we already are for manned vessels, you might say. And the equipment suppliers, they have their product liability that they are responsible for the equipment on board. Of course, connectivity is more important, as you mentioned. So the 4G, 5G coverage is important, for example. So there's some new areas here, but the basic risk is actually not changed as we see it, as long as we have a human in the loop. And that's one of the reasons for having that person as well. In addition to learning, it's about putting the legal and insurance responsibility on a existing entity.
Yeah. And we have a question for Mr. Nishimura. Decision support tool notifies the traffic situation, including the risk of collision, to a VTS operator in order to take proper action. Who is the VTS operating addressing to when we have conventional ships and autonomous ships? Who was the first to respond to the VTS operator in your test bed? Did you hear the question, Mr. Nishimura? He's not responding. Did you hear the question, Mr. Nishimura? Okay, can you answer the question? Can you answer the question about who was the first to respond to the VTS operator in your test bed?
You mean the actual? Yes. I can hear you.
Would you like me to do
Yes,
the question again?
I can hear it. I can. But yes. Do you hear me?
I hear you. Let me do the question again.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't think if you can hear me.
You hear me?
Okay, we have a lot of delay here.
Okay. The connection is bad, but
Yeah. We have a delay. We'll put the question in the chat, and so you can respond to the chat. So we'll get back to you. Thank you. Mr. van Dorsten, is there anything that you would like to add before we are wrapping up?
No, I'm very glad with this symposium, and I think, you all did a great job in giving it a good chance, not even a chance, is well done in creating an overview of what's happening right now in e-navigation and VTS. Mm-hmm. And I think we have a massive challenge.
Yeah, challenge, but also a lot of opportunities.
Of course.
Thank you very much for being here with us in the studio. It was a pleasure. And thank you, of course, for Mrs. Meiling and Mr. Ishumara for being with us also in the studio, but then on screen. And enjoy the rest of your day, evening. And enjoy your dinner. There is a delay, so later on he will probably respond to the dinner thing. Enjoy your dinner later on. Thank you very much. And Mr. Hogeno, thank you for being our final chair today.
Yeah, thank you, too. It was really an honor to be the last chair of this symposium for the technical sessions. And I must say I enjoyed all the presentations this week.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. So this was the final theme session, Mass Challenges. It was a very dynamic session. That's great to end up all the sessions, 12 sessions. And of course, we are ready for the closing ceremony. The closing ceremony will start at 12:25, and you really have to be there. So I see you in about 10, 12 minutes. I see you back here for the closing ceremony. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the closing session of IALA 2021. And I'm so honored to be here with Mrs. Bridget Gijsbers. She is the Director of Maritime Affairs of the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management and a member of the IALA Council for the Netherlands. And why am I so honored? Because we opened the show on Monday and now we're here closing together. So that's great that you're here. How are you doing?
Yes, fine. I really love this week. It's the first online symposium. It was the first symposium both on VTS and e-navigation. And I think that both topics were thoroughly discussed during this week. That's great.
Yeah. And what did you like most when we look back at this week?
Yeah, well, I think the fact that we discussed both VTS and e-navigation for the Netherlands, it's a very important topic. And we will go together in close cooperation with Singapore. We proposed in the Council to start a special task force, an intercommittee task force, task group on MAS, on maritime autonomous surface shipping. And just look back at the presentation Harmen Dorser gave, just with a very clear overview on that topic, so that's great. And just to mention a real nice thing, which had a comparison which Mr. Axel Haan made between the e-navigation concept and ordering a pizza. That was really a good cliffhanger.
It made it really clear, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it became a thing through the whole show because we were talking about pizza.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's nice. And maybe there will be more collaboration like this, putting things together. So
for sure.
Yeah,
for
nice.
Sure.
And you were also, of course, on the platform. I will ask you a little bit more about that. But we also have a voting for the people, of a live voting right now, because we would like to know what is it that you will be doing after closing of today. There are a couple of answers for you. I hope you can see the answers on screen. So what will you be doing Of course, eating the pizza is a possibility, but asking questions to the chat, get some more sleep. Well, what will you be doing? And we will get back to that later on. And for you, what was one of the great features or what happened for you on the platform?
Yeah, well, on Monday, I said I really hope that it will be a vivid and lively symposium. And really, it exceeded my expectations how much the network app was used. Yeah. And I did chat with colleagues around the world, so that was great.
Nice. So you had the feeling that we were really together in this symposium.
Absolutely.
What was so nice yesterday, we showed the living room of SAP. And after that, there was 25% of a raise of the appointments made in the living room of SAP.
Yeah, that's great.
So that is awesome. And yeah, let me get you some visuals, and you get some visuals of our connectivity at the network platform. You see on the screen, on the left, you can see in blue the expertises and how active we are within the network app platform. And in the middle, we see which top three expertises are most connected with each other. There are 359 connections were made between traffic monitoring and management, and trainings and education. 369, I see. Well, it still continues, so that's great. And at the bottom, you see pictures of 3 people. You see the real active people in this certain expertise. But we also took a look at who was the most active on the platform, and we have a top 6 for you. And let's start at number 6. Mr. Huub van Rosmalen was very active. At 5, it's Mrs. Gillian Carson-Jackson. Well, we knew that already, of course. At 4, it's Mr. Paap. He was very active. Number 3, Mr. Michel Fiorini, but he is sharing the second place on only one more activity. Mr. Peter 8 was on the second place, and the one who was most active on the platform is Mr. Bergman, Mr. Michael Bergman. He was very active. And we also get sometimes a question, if I want to have a presentation of one of the guest speakers, can I download it? Well, maybe if you want that, please post it in the questions or in the quest where you can post a question to everyone, so you can get in touch with the speaker, and maybe you can get it by him or her. Yeah, thank you. You will stay here with me, so we will be closing up. And we started on Monday with our first 2 chairs. And they started with an introductory presentation. And today they will give a Let's Look Back at This Week presentation. And of course I'm talking about Mrs. Monica Sandclef and Mr. Hideki Noguchi. And let me tell you a little bit more about Mrs. Monica Sandclef. She's working as a senior advisor at the Swedish Transport Agency with responsibilities to develop, coordinate and regulate various fields of maritime traffic, including ship reporting and VTS. She has a former career as a radio and communication management officer in the Swedish Royal Navy, where she served for 12 years. She also worked as a nautical advisor at the Swedish Maritime Administration and as a national expert in professional training at the European Maritime Safety Agency in Lisbon, Portugal. Monica has experience from several international arenas besides IALA, and she has participated in the IALA VTS committee since 2003, both in the training working group as vice chair, as well as the operation working group as vice chair, and chair before she was effective chair of the VTS committee in 2018. So we're happy that she will give a presentation again. Mr. Noguchi was appointed as the chair of the IALA e-navigation committee at the 63rd IALA Council meeting in 2016. He also served as the special assistant to the director of the Maritime Traffic Department, Japan Coast Guard, and in charge of international affairs. In addition, he was assigned for the head of Japanese delegation to the IMO ITU Joint Expert Group and for the representative of Japanese delegation to the IMO Maritime Safety Committee and NSCR Subcommittee. Before appointed as the chair, he was the vice chair from 2014 to 2016 and also worked as the coordinator of IMO NAV Subcommittee Correspondence Group on the development of policy and new symbols for IES aids to navigation. I'm very pleased that they're here to give our final presentation on this final day. Welcome back again.
Thank you very much, Paulina. Thank you for that complete introduction. So hello, everybody, and welcome to the closing session. I hope that you have enjoyed the symposium as much as I have. Hideki and I will make a short summary, and we will give you our reflections of what has happened during the symposium, and also present the highlights, or if you rather will call it conclusions, that has been noted. My personal opinion is that the symposium has been fantastic and has run very smoothly, although it has been the first virtual symposium. It has shown to be very effective and informative, knowing all the preparations that are needed for such an event. There has been 228 registered participants, and I believe that everyone has adapted to this online event using the app and the virtual tools that has been provided. I'm really amazed over all the interesting presentations that we have seen during the week, and also on your very smart questions to each other, as well as a lot of appreciations after each presentation. This proves that we have a very good atmosphere within IALA, and that you are all eager to learn more and to show each other that you care about them. And this is the true spirit of the IALA family. I am also very impressed of all persons from remote places in the world that you have participated and being so active despite different time zones. And I guess it would be prudent to also thank your families that has accepted you to work in sometimes very odd hours. So please give them my sincere and deepest gratitude. IALA Symposium 2021 has really become that interactive event that we hoped it would be. I believe also that VTS has manifested its significant role to assist and secure that maritime traffic reaches its destination in a safe, secure, efficient, environmental friendly way. But we cannot sit back and be satisfied that this is working right now. We need to keep up with the ongoing developments, especially within e-navigation and digitalization, so that we are up to date with whatever the latest systems and functionalities may offer. And we need to continue meeting the challenges and develop global guidance to all relevant authorities and VTS personnel for the safety and efficiency of navigation. And some specific words that many have been mentioning several times at the symposium and that I picked up here are, for example, standardization, harmonization, digitalization, risk management, artificial intelligence, autonomy, cybersecurity, decision support, efficiency, training, simulation, connectivity, collaboration, communication, and last but not least, pizza. These are issues and areas that will be important to follow and to develop further. Pizza, of course, maybe. As I have heard, many of you have been very content with the virtual symposium. So I have, of course, been content as well. But there are two things that I actually miss. First is those personal meetings that may happen at lunches and dinners, or even at hotels and local establishments. On the other hand, it has been very nice to see you all floating around in the network app, and it's very easy to send messages to anyone there as well. The second is that I miss the real exhibition area to go around and see the built-up systems where you can ask direct questions and where you may, if you're lucky, be able to push some buttons and test any functionality on a real VTS system and see what happens on the screen. But also the exhibition has gone virtual, and I hope that you have been able to visit the electronic exhibition of our industrial members. There are many informative videos and presentations to look at, and not to mention contact information to the industrial experts should you want to have further questions on a particular system. Also, don't forget to study the posters as well, where you will find the link, at least to the latest edition of the VTS manual that I cannot promote enough. And Hideki, would you have any personal reflections on the symposium you would like to share, maybe from an e-navigation point of view?
Yeah, thank you very much, Monica. But I think it's what I wanted to say was already said by all you, Monica, but maybe I have to say this is as actually the Bridget explained that the first VTS eNav symposium and also first online symposium. And even for me, this is my first symposium. And it shows a really very great success from the e-navigation matters. Because as you see in the digitalization, now digitalization, I think it's the digitalization is the same as e-navigation to connect the people on board and ashore by digital means. So if digitalization is e-navigation, as we already see in this symposium, how this power of the digitalization connect people around the world. Of course, we have to bear some kind of the time difference. Or we cannot have any party online, but maybe we have a virtual online party with pizza in the future. But I think it is a great, important history of IALA to have this kind of symposium now. And I know that we still continue to this corona pandemic. And I'm not sure that, of course, it's in the future. I don't have any view of the future, but we still have a conference in Brazil and next symposium in Singapore. And maybe at that time, we can meet physically, but also we much more better use of this digitalization technique as Netherlands government, Dutch government showed in this symposium. And I do really, really appreciate Dutch government for organizing this kind of wonderful symposium online. I know that it's a really hard way because many countries still suffered from the COVID-19, and even the Netherlands, so many had a kind of the restriction or movement or something. But I think Netherlands has really shown the great power of digitalization and the navigation. And thank you very much for that. That's my
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very nice words of Mr. Noguchi and Mrs. Sandler.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the IALA family. Is this how you experience it as well?
Absolutely. If you see at the Secretariat, there are only 14, 15 people working there. And if you see what's happening in VTS and e-navigation all around the world, that's because of the IALA family, because of everyone working in the different governments and also the industry and working closely together. So it really feels like a family.
Yeah, and I can imagine because there are so many industries, so many parties involved that you have to coordinate it and you have to standardize it. And so it's great that it feels like a family, so because hopefully you communicate very well in a family, right? Yeah. And he was also talking about a party, yeah? And it's not possible in a party on different time zones, but it is because one can have breakfast and the other one can have pizza, right? And all together we can have champagne because you can have champagne at breakfast. Let's take a look into the not near future, but at 2023, because we will connect with Mr. Alberto Piovesana from Brazil. He is part of the organization committee.
We have the highlights.
I think somebody is totally coming through in the studio. Okay. Let's connect with Mr. Alberto Piovesani from Brazil. He's part of the organization committee of the IALA Conference 2023 in Brazil, and he will tell us all about this upcoming conference. Yeah, so if we think of Brazil, what's the first things that pops up in your mind?
Caipirinhas.
Caipirinhas. And dancing in the sun, right?
Absolutely.
So really, let's hope that we will be able to... Mr. Noguchi also mentioned, I cannot have a look into the future because we don't know what will happen. No. But it would be so nice if we can meet each other in person, right?
That would be great, absolutely.
Yeah, let's hope for that. And let's take a look what Mr. Piovesana has to say to us. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Monica. Please, may you put my presentation? Yes. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Alberto Piovesana from Brazilian Navy. I'm grateful to the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management of Netherlands, as well Ayala, for this special opportunity. Next, please. The conference logo shows the most important lighthouse of Brazil, Ilha Rasa, or Rasa Island, located in front to the Rio de Janeiro, having as background the mountain chain which permeates the city. Has looked from the lighthouse. This is the seafarer's view. Next, please. Next. The first conference dedicated to AIDS to navigation was held in London almost 1 century ago, and the last in the Republic of Korea. The next conference in 2023 will be held in Brazil. Next, please. Next slide. Next. This big tropical country, green painted in this view of South America. Next, please. More specifically, in the city of Rio de Janeiro. Next, please. Next. Brazil has a territory of 8.5 million square kilometers, almost 17,000 kilometers of terrestrial border, and more than 7,000 kilometers of coastline. Next, please. It is 3.6 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zone. Next. In 2023, we will be about 215 million inhabitants, descendants of all ethnicities. Next, please. It is 7.5 thousand kilometers of maritime waterways, 28,000 of internal waterways, plus a potential of 15,000 kilometers. Next, please. More than 40 maritime and 20 fluvial principal ports. Next, please. Next slide, please. Search and rescue area of 15.3 million square kilometers. Next, please. Meta area and nav area of 10.3 million square kilometers. Next, please. On average, more than 370 foreign ships are sailing through Brazilian territorial waters daily. Next, please. Brazilian AIDS to navigation structure is subordinated to maritime authority exercised by the commander of the Navy. Brazil associated Ayala in 1961 and is member of its council since 1998. I would like to draw your attention to an important detail. How can I say? An ephemeris. Next slide, please. This will be the first Ayala conference under the Convention on the International Organization for Marine Aids to Navigation. Next, please. The conference venue will be the Windsor Convention and Expo Center. Next, please. Located at Barra da Tijuca Beach, 38 kilometers to international airport and no more than 200 meters to the nearest drugstore or a restaurant or just a bar. Next, please. Next slide, please. This is the place. If you want, you can visit it by this live webcam link and see images like these ones. Next, please. Integrated and connected to Convention Center, there are 2 hotels scored 5 and 4 stars. And the third, with 3 stars, is in construction and also will be available. Next, please. There are 4 floors, auditorium and institutional booths from the top, dedicated rooms, industrial exhibition rooms, and at underground, the refectory. Next, please. This is the auditorium. Next. The entrance of industrial exhibition room. Next. And finally, the refectorium. Next slide, please. The preliminary program is similar past conference, but is also planning a virtual tour to Ilha Rasa Lighthouse to be open also to schools and groups of people with special needs. Next, please. In the near Golf Club will be held the Industrial Members Evening. Next, please. It is only 4 kilometers far of Convention Center, just 15 minutes by bus, and we will arrive in a beautiful and cozy place, as you can see in these photos. Next, please. Next. Next, please. As Brazil is a multicultural country, you will have opportunity to taste, watch, and participate in some culinary and cultural modalities, especially chosen for this occasion. Next, please. About Partners Program, it is being developed with great care to offer visits to, next, please, main tourist spots of the city. Next, please. And it's also planned to suggest optional tours little further from the city for those who plan to stay a little longer in Brazil or arrive earlier. Why not? Next, please. Concluding, we are looking forward to welcome you and your family in Rio de Janeiro in 2023 for the 20th Ayala Conference. It will be an unmissable opportunity to reunite Ayala family again after this long period of seclusion. Next, please. We are fully confident the experiences, research, and innovations on aids to navigation, which will be presented, will significantly contribute to the worldwide safety of navigation and to a more sustainable future in this beautiful and hospitable planet we live. Next, please. To conclude this invitation, please kindly watch the video. Thank you all very much. See you in Rio in 23.
In the morning of January 1st, 1502, Portuguese sailor Gaspar Lemos saw what he believed to be the mouth of an immense river, naming the place as Rio de Janeiro, the January River. And here in Rio de Janeiro, port of entry and culture capital of Brazil, is where it will all begin. In 2023, the 20th Ayala International Conference will cast its anchors on our waters with the sole mission of bringing to the world the development of best practices for a more sustainable and safe use of seas. The ocean does not set continents apart. Instead, it brings countries together. And what a fabulous place to come together will be Rio de Janeiro. A tropical city, bathed by sun and sea, surrounded by mountains. A place of multicultural heritage, where tradition and innovation coexist in perfect harmony. And from the top of the Corcovado Mountain, one of the 7 wonders of the new millennium, the Christ, looks upon every Carioca, as we call the natives of Rio, and welcomes all visitors to his city of wonders. The birthplace of Bossa Nova, a music genre born on the sands of the Ipanema beach. And Copacabana, called Princess of the Sea, with its iconic Copacabana Palace Hotel, where royalty and celebrities found a home away from home in this city. Rio de Janeiro is a unique touristic destination, open for business as well as leisure. With a world-class convention and business infrastructure, in Rio you will also enjoy the best in arts, in culture, nature, sports, and an outstanding quality of life for every local and visitor as well. In 2023, we will all be waiting for you with open arms in Rio de Janeiro, home of the 20th Ayala International Conference. Come to Rio.
Yeah, Mrs. Gijsbers, on a scale from 1 to 100, how much would you like to go to a place like this?
100.
100, yeah. I
For
can
sure.
imagine that.
Especially after being
Especially,
at home.
I know,
for
in
more
the
than a year
Netherlands, yeah.
now.
We're dying for some travel, of course. Well, let's go back to some insights of last week with Mr. Noguchi and Mrs. Sundcliffe.
Thank you again, Pauline, and sorry for the interruption before there. We still have to present the highlights of the week. So is the presentation on? There it is. Thank you very much. The highlights are as follows. Number 1, BTS will be essential for digital information exchange and therefore central to the successful digital transformation within the maritime world. 2, maritime connectivity is paramount for progressing e-navigation. It is time to settle on the standards for the first generation of a worldwide connectivity and data communication solution so industry can move forward with innovative solutions. 3, BDES R-Mode can act as terrestrial backup for GNSS by using time-synchronized ranging information. BDES also provides improved communication capabilities. 4, advanced decision support systems will assist both BTS operators and navigators' situational awareness, facilitate risk assessment, and improve the safety and efficiency of navigation. 5, the provision of S100 digital maritime services is a key enabler for e-navigation. Global harmonization of standards is required for successful implementation of the ambitious digital maritime agenda. 6, successful VTS training is a crucial factor for delivering VTS in a professional and harmonized way. New skill sets for VTS personnel to meet changing demands will be essential and should be taken into account by relevant authorities. 7, BTS will be fundamental in implementing harmonized digital data to prepare for the management of mixed traffic areas within both conventional and autonomous vessels. 8, autonomous systems driven by a business case with defined user needs and requirements are becoming operational, and stakeholders need to be prepared. Standardization, harmonization, and definition of responsibilities is required to guide current and future activities. And you will all see these ones in the report of the symposium as well. And before we end this session, please allow me, on behalf of both the BTS and I also guess ENAV committee, to express my gratitude to our organizers, the Netherlands Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, together with the Port of Rotterdam, and of course Ayala, for the impeccable arrangement and support for holding this symposium as a virtual event. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to all hardworking persons behind the scene from Pino, and especially moderator Mrs. Pauline de Wilde. Last but not least, in fact, most important, if you ask me, I'd like to thank all you participants and representatives from maritime authorities, IALA sister organizations, VTS providers, research institutions, training organizations, VTS and ENAV developers and manufacturers, and everyone else with an interest in VTS and e-navigation. Thank you, session chairs and presenters, for making us see new solutions and possibilities. And thank you all for your consistent support and involvement in the committee work of IALA. It is because of you that all this symposium has been a big success. So thank you and hope seeing you soon again.
Thank you
Over to
very
you, Pauline.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to say thank you as well as to Mrs. Sundclef and Mr. Noguchi for being such a wonderful chair, a special chair, starting on Monday and now finishing up on this Friday. It really makes it all complete. So thank you very much for being with us and your nice words, of course.
Thank you so much.
So, and it's time to look a little bit further in 2023, actually to 2025. We will have a video message for you from Mr. Arthur Lim. He's part of the organizing committee for the IALA Symposium in Singapore 2025. Let's take a look.
Hi everyone. First of all, Singapore would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Netherlands on a successful 14th IALA VTS Symposium. Even amidst these trying times of the pandemic, the Netherlands, together with the IALA Secretariat, has been exceptional in facilitating fruitful sharing and discussions for all attendees. Today, at the invitation of the Netherlands, I am pleased for this opportunity to share a little bit about Singapore's plans for the next symposium in 2024, as well as what to expect when you visit our sunny island. As we plan and determine the objectives of the 2024 symposium, it is imperative that we also consider how the maritime landscape will look like in the years ahead. In particular, we need to think about the industry needs and capabilities of the future to ensure that IALA stays ahead of the changes that would come. For the future, Singapore foresees a mature and developed state of digitalization throughout the maritime industry. The future of shipping will see a densely interconnected digital ecosystem driven by data sharing and systems interoperability. Here, different parts of the maritime value chain will communicate to maximize safety and efficiency. To prepare for the future of shipping, Singapore has already embarked on a few projects that would strengthen VTS and e-navigation capabilities in preparation for an increasingly digital maritime landscape. Firstly, we have our Digital Ship initiative that we see as crucial to the e-navigation domain. Essentially, Digital Ship is a ship-to-shore harmonization and interoperability platform, enabling vessels and shore-based stakeholders to share data seamlessly. This would lead to increased efficiency and enhance areas such as digital communications, safety of navigation, and maritime security. Next, we have Digital Port at SG, Singapore's maritime single window that streamlines vessel, immigration, and port health clearances across multiple agencies into a single portal. Previously, one had to submit up to 16 separate forms to 3 different agencies to enter the Port of Singapore. But now, only a single form is needed, which will save an estimated 100,000 man-hours a year. In its next phase, Digital Port at SG will leverage artificial intelligence to enable just-in-time arrivals and sea space optimization, leading to even greater time savings. The third prong of our digitalization roadmap is the Digital Oceans Initiative, which will help build data bridges between maritime stakeholders to enable interoperability between single windows of different ports. Thus far, 6 maritime stakeholders have joined the MOU to develop common data standards and API specifications. And as more ports come aboard, the network effect will be even stronger and create greater efficiency for all. Singapore also looks beyond our borders to assist our partners. we are working with the IMO on a single window to facilitate trade, or SWIFT project. We seek to support fellow countries in preparing for the future maritime landscape. Leveraging our experience, the SWIFT pilot project's end goal is to help fellow countries implement a fully functional MSW. Apart from efficiency gains, this will help member states comply with their obligations under the FAIL Convention. The system will also contain APIs to allow interfacing and interoperation with other digital systems and single windows worldwide. The SWIFT project's overall aim is to foster a more efficient and resilient global maritime supply chain. And an IMO circular has been sent out asking for countries to indicate their interest to participate by the end of this month. Looking ahead to the 15th Symposium and considering the future maritime landscape, Singapore envisions two key objectives. Firstly, Singapore intends to work with like-minded parties to co-develop a global maritime ecosystem based on interoperability and cybersecurity. These are especially important amidst an increasingly digitalized environment and the need to build resilience in our systems. This will build upon the good work done at the successful 14th Symposium just hosted by the Netherlands. Secondly, Singapore will also demonstrate new capabilities of interest within the VTS and e-navigation domain. To ensure the maritime industry can cope with its changing needs of the future, it is vital to ensure that industry competencies grow with industry demands and that IALA stays ahead of the game. In 2024, Singapore will showcase new technologies such as our next generation VTMS, integrated with e-navigation and MES features, as well as the latest developments in remote pilotage maritime drones and just-in-time operations. Now that I've briefly covered our vision for the symposium, allow me to share some background on Singapore, just to get us a little bit more excited for 2024. Firstly, the Singapore people and society. Singapore is a concentration of experiences. We have a multi-ethnic and multicultural population of 5.6 million, and we are home to 4 official languages, 10 religions, and many more ethnicities. In Singapore, English is the primary language and used on all public signage, allowing delegates to explore the city easily without a guide. With the diverse ethnicities, religions, and cultures coexisting in Singapore, delegates can immerse themselves in the rich heritage of the various ethnic precincts of Chinatown, Little India, Kampong Glam, and Katong, and be spoiled by a wide range of exotic cuisines and traditional experiences. Perhaps due to our multicultural and diverse society, Singapore has a colourful blend of art, history, heritage, and architecture. For a young nation, Singapore has a rich and breathtaking art scene, where our many museums and art institutions are based in beautifully conserved heritage buildings. Most notably, our National Gallery oversees the world's largest public collection of Southeast Asian art, with over 8,000 pieces of artwork. With Singapore being a modern metropolis with deeply entrenched cultural roots, delegates would find themselves intrigued by our architecture, which juxtaposes the historic and contemporary, where old meets new. Now, I go on to share about Singapore's diverse gastronomic scene. As you may have heard, Singapore is a food paradise. Here, we have cuisines of different selections and of any budget, ranging from Michelin-star restaurants to authentic hawker fare. We also have a range of bars and scenic night spots to enjoy in the evening. Here, delegates can look forward to unwind after a long day at the symposium. Lastly, I will share about the leisure essentials and attractions delegates could enjoy when they are not busy at the symposium. As a tourist hotspot, Singapore has several world-class attractions, including Universal Studios Singapore, the Sea Aquarium, which is one of the largest aquariums in the world, and a wide range of wildlife parks to enjoy in the day or even at night. Singapore is also a garden city with green spaces everywhere. Besides the public parks in the heartlands, we have our award-winning horticultural Gardens by the Bay, as well as the Singapore Botanic Gardens, which is a UNESCO heritage site. Thank you for your kind attention, and we look forward to welcoming you to Singapore in 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Lim, and good luck with all the preparations. And I think we will fly from Brazil and then to Singapore, right?
For sure.
For sure.
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's really time to move to the end. And to close IALA 2021, we will move to Paris, where Mr. Francis Zakaria, Secretary General of IALA, is heading right now. And Mr. Francis Zakaria was already in the studio on the opening on Monday, and he had a dream that he would travel a little bit. Well, his dream came true because he traveled from Denmark via Rotterdam, and now he is in Paris. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Pauline. Here in Paris, we have a little bit of spring. It's a bit cold, but it's much better than Denmark because it's green here.
Oh, good. Nice. And how was your trip? It was bizarre to be traveling.
Yeah, I went by car, Pauline, and it's really, you can feel that Europe is almost one country now because there are no borders anymore. You just drive in the highway all the way. You don't feel that you are in one country or another. So it's really easy now.
Yeah. Well, the floor is yours to really start closing this ceremony and this symposium.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pauline. Well, firstly, of course, I would like to thank our host, the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, for organizing an international event of this size during the pandemic. It really requires courage, skills, and also flexibility. So, and again, I would like specifically to mention the hard work done by Martin Berrevoets and his team, with of course the strong support from the IALA Council member Brigitte Gevers, as we heard speak just a little while ago. It was, as Pauline said, really a pleasure for me to be in Rotterdam at the opening of the symposium and see the large setup and the many people behind the screen. You have all seen Pauline, and you have done a fantastic job, Pauline. And thank you very much. And all the speakers, like myself, have probably emailed with Lorient many times to be sure that we could dial in. But there are many more people involved in the work that I would like to thank all of you in the studio behind the scene. It's a fantastic job. The platform has been really, and the participants, they have enjoyed the app and the different functions and possibility to chat. Like Brigitte, I have chatted with many of my friends all over the world, and it has been wonderful. I'm really sorry I was not among the top 6, but I have done a lot of chatting. Next, I would of course like to thank all the speakers. I don't think we all appreciate really how much time and preparation it takes in putting together these presentations that we have seen. Not only actually the time in preparing the slides, but also sometimes the months and years of research that goes into the studies that resulted in the information shared with us over this last week. I would then also like to thank the session chairs who ran their respective sessions as a captain sailing his ship and managing the time so strictly and effectively. That's really important for a conference like this to manage the time. At this point, I would also like to thank the industrial members, sponsors, and exhibitors. We all know what we want to achieve, but without the equipment and technology that they bring to the table, we won't be able to deliver the services expected of us. As much as the presentations and discussions have been on the subject of VTS and e-navigation, I think it is especially important to mention the important industrial members, because I now see a trend where the industry is leading the innovation and way ahead in e-navigation. And that is a situation that I have missed since the beginning of the e-navigation story, and that is really good news. Thank you very much also to the steering committee and the IALA Secretariat, and a special thanks to the chairs of the VTS committee, Monica Sundklev, and the e-navigation committee, Commander Hideki Noguchi, for all their support and guidance, and for the excellent conclusions that we just heard some minutes ago. There is really much inspiration and challenging, I would guess, for many years to follow. Lastly, I would like to thank all of you, the participants. Without your contribution, this would not have been a success. I noticed especially all the good and difficult questions and the interaction on the chat function on the app that made the symposium really valuable. This is what we call the IALA family. We heard that before. The IALA family, friendly, technical, and constructive. Thank you so much for that. I will also take the opportunity in the presence of a large number of the IALA family to mention that this is Virginia's last symposium. She will retire from IALA later this year after 20 years of dedicated service. I think many people, if not all, know Virginia and her always friendly and helpful attitude. I can assure you that Virginia knows you, all of you, by first name, the name of your partner, your children, and also the name of your dog, if you have one. We wish you all the best for the future, Virginia. Normally, I would wish all of you a safe trip home, but as this is a virtual symposium, you are probably already at home. So instead, I would say I look much forward to meet you face to face soon when the pandemic is under control. So from me and from the Secretariat, thank you very much to all of you in front and behind the camera and the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zachariah. It's really, really nice words. Thank you very much for being with us and for closing the show at this beautiful way. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was very nice, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, we are coming to the end. So is there something that you would like to say? But first, let's see at the poll, because we have some reactions at the poll, what people are going to do after today, after the closing. And I see that, well, it's nice divided. Huh? We see that 22% is going to eat a pizza, although it's early in the morning, doesn't matter. Keep networking on the platform is 26%. Prepare for Brazil and Singapore is 29%. And back to your own time, I get a little bit of sleep, 22%. So that's very nice. And you, what are you going to do?
Yeah, starting my weekend.
Starting the weekend, yeah. Yes, I will give the floor to you for some final
words.
Yes,
we heard already lots and lots of words of thanks, and I can only, well, say I fully agree with that. But I would like to speak out a special thanks to Peter Paap. He was already mentioned as one of the most busiest one on the chat. He is the one who convinced me that we should organize this symposium already 5 or 6 years ago. So, Peter, thank you very much for that. Also, big thanks to Maarten and his team. And, of course, Pauline, I have some flowers for you.
That is so nice.
Well, you could all see in the network app, in the video library, the Meet the Netherlands, yes. And you could see the Keukenhof. It is now prime time for the tubes from Amsterdam, so these are especially for you.
Oh, thank you very much. They're beautiful.
And not only for you, but for everyone behind the screen. And of course, I say goodbye and hope to see everyone, all the participants in Brazil or earlier before that.
Well, thank you very much for being with us. It was very nice to do this together with you on Monday and today. And yeah, you were a great sidekick of me. But thank you also for the opportunity that you gave us to organize this. Thank you very much and have a great afternoon and weekend. Thank you very much. And for me, I would like to thank all the sponsors, of course. There have been so many thank you words, but thanks to all the sponsors. They are still on the platform. And as you know by now, the platform is still active until the 1st of July. So you can download posters, watch a video, chat with other participants, and also chat with the guest speakers. So please make use of the platform. But most of all, I also would like to thank you for being such a loyal viewer, for being such an active participant on the platform. And this was the 14th IALA Symposium from the port of Rotterdam. And it was a real pleasure to be part of your very, very interesting, exciting and challenging world. And connectivity is key, and it all starts with sharing knowledge, ideas and solutions. Exactly what we did this last couple of days. So I hope to see you soon in person, Brazil, Rotterdam or Singapore. I hope that you stay safe, and please stay a little bit longer to watch the after movie that we made for you for this week. And for now, good morning, new night.